here to hopefully shoot some Nightscape and Milky Way. It's been beautifully clear all day. Hang on, I can see Starlink. Blimey. Well, how about that? That's very cool. I mean, it's completely ruined the sky. That's beautiful. Well, what an awesome location. So, I'm in Costa Blanca. We're on holiday as a family, and The other day I went out searching for some locations nearby where I might be able to do some nightscaping. We're right by the sea, which is great because this part of Spain is very heavily light polluted. We're between Alicante and Valencia, about 45 minutes north of Benidorm. And the Milky Way at this time of year is kind of southwest after sunset. So if I'm not careful, that Milky Way will sit directly in all that horrible murky light pollution. But I found this incredible rock platform, which was quite a walk down, as you probably saw. And the compositions from here are just beautiful. I've got these lovely kind of volcanic-y, bubbly rocks underneath me. The cliffs are just ploughing into the sea. Just behind there's this amazing cave, and when I came here the other day to suss it out, that cave should line up beautifully with the Milky Way. So with any luck I'll get a repeat of my Porthgwarra, Cornwall tunnel Milky Way shot that I got a couple of years ago. I'll put that on the screen now. But it's beautiful here. It's still slightly blue hour. I'm just getting a few foreground images now. But the Milky Way is very clearly punching through that blue hour. This first composition of mine has the cliffs dropping off into the sea. You can probably hear the sea just down here actually, and if these waves get any bigger I'm going to start to get a bit wet. But I've got an initial sort of ridge of rocks coming down here. There's then in the mid-ground another ridge of rocks that sort of layers down into the sea as well. I'm shooting my foreground shots right now at 30-second exposure f4 at ISO 3200, and I'm using long exposure noise reduction on those shots. I'm using the Samyang 6D, the modified 6D, the Canon 6D modified, and the Samyang 24mm lens as well. And the Milky Way looks beautiful even at this blue hour time. I'm going to probably have to focus stack the foreground here, I think. Don't quite have enough depth of field to get everything as sharp as I would like. Possibly my second image, which is focused on the mid-ground, might well be sharp enough in the foreground as well. We'll have to see. But what a location. I'll tell you what, it's hot here. I know these people who say you always have to go and scout your foreground locations during the daytime before you shoot them at night. That's all well and good until it's 35 degrees in the day and there is no respite from the sun whatsoever. So when I was down here the other day, we've got Starlink going over again. That's the second time in 3 days. Let me just show you that. Look at that. That's a much closer train of Starlink than the other night. How about that? So that's 2 for 2 on being interrupted by Starlink during my vlogs this week. So as soon as it gets dark, I will put the star tracker on. Hope to get some really nice detailed shots of the Milky Way here. I might even do some 50mm shots and just play around. What was I saying earlier? Oh yeah, foreground hunting during the day, 35-degree heat, baking sun, coming down a precipitous cliff like this, and having to walk up it afterwards. Sorry, no, not worth it. Absolutely exhausting. I get hot when it's kind of 2-3 degrees at home. In this kind of heat, I am struggling. That's why you're not going to get any close-ups of me today. Anyway, you can just start to see the Milky Way now, naked eye. So much structure in that Sagittarius region. It really is beautiful. Okay, so I started the process of taking my tracked Milky Way shots. I'm using the Samyang 24mm to start with, and I'll do some tracked 14mm shots later. I've stopped down the Samyang to f4, and I'm shooting at ISO 800, so hopefully very low noise. I'm shooting exposures of 2 minutes. Hopefully they won't show any star trailing. I can't actually see the pole star from this location, unfortunately. There's a big cliff right behind the camera, the video camera, which means I can't quite get polar aligned optically. So I've had to sort of use a bit of guesstimating, looking where the plough is and where the rest of Ursa Minor is to sort of guess where Polaris is, and I've sort of sense checked that with the compass on my mobile phone as well. Bit of a confession around track shots. I seem to be quite pathologically lazy in taking them. So often when I'm out in the field, particularly somewhere that I'm unfamiliar with, I find getting the tracker out, setting it all up, getting it all started, and using all the batteries and making sure the batteries aren't flat and all that sort of thing, all in all a bit of a faff. Which is why I very often just take static shots. But without a doubt, in my heart and with the eyes that I see other people's images with, tracked shots are invariably better, much more detail, you get much less noise in the Milky Way. So I'm going to try not to be lazy tonight and take some decent tracked shots, which I'll then stack later and blend with my foregrounds in post-production. So I'm trying to be a good boy today. So let's have a look at what this first 2-minute exposure has come out like. That histogram looks pretty good. These guys who say track shots all the way forward might be onto something. I'm just wondering whether I could push that to 2.5 minutes. I think I might try. Let's try 2.5 minutes. Maybe that's pushing it. I'll stick with 2. Take what you've got, Paul. And I'll do some dark frames, and hopefully this will be a good set of images. So I'm now just going to set the intervalometer going, so I don't have to keep pressing the button. It'll just keep going for a few minutes, and I'm going to sit down and relax for a bit. Painful. Okay, so I'm hoping in the video this week that you're seeing a little bit more detail in the sky than you would have done in some of my previous videos, and that's because I've swapped out the lens I'm using with this Sony a7S video camera from a Samyang 14mm lens, which only opens up to f2.8, to a Samyang 24mm lens, which opens up as wide as f1.4. And hopefully that wider aperture is hoovering up more of the light from the sky and from the foreground and the shadows here. So you get to see a little bit more about what I'm doing, but also hopefully see a little bit more detail in the sky, and particularly behind me, the core of the Milky Way. So hopefully that's really showing. And when I go back to Norway in February next year, I'm hoping this will produce a lot better real-time aurora footage for me to upload as well. So this is really making up for what's been quite a challenging year from a Milky Way nightscaping point of view. The weather through most of the summer, or rather the early spring and then late summer in the UK, has been pretty diabolical from an astrophotography point of view. We have had cloudy night after cloudy night after cloudy night, and then the period of time where it doesn't properly get dark. We had a very flat noctilucent cloud season. You'll have seen my last video where I had a failed noctilucent cloud hunt, and that was one of many this year, unfortunately. So to come here and to really see the Milky Way core high up in the sky is definitely making up for the challenges of earlier on this season, and it's been wonderful down here. I'm going to do a few more 2-minute exposures to stack those later. I've then got one more composition in mind before I probably head off from here, from the cave that's in the corner over there. I don't mind saying I'm a little bit nervous that the eyes that I kept seeing around the cliff face earlier on may well be hiding in that cave, but I guess there's only one way to find out if they are, and that's to go in there and try to take the shot that I've got in mind. Right. This could be interesting. I'll leave my bag out here. Oh wow, that's a pretty special view. Okay, well, welcome to the strangest place I've ever taken a Milky Way shot from. I'm in that tiny cave I showed you earlier, right at the back of it. It is extraordinarily hot in here. There are mosquitoes galore. But as I think you would have just seen when I showed you on the camera, there is a glorious framing of the Milky Way outside of this cave. It's just amazing. I love it. It's very uncomfortable in here. So I've got the Canon 6D modified 24mm Samyang lens, which I'll have at f2 initially, and I'm going to do some sky shots first of all, just to bank those sky shots in case cloud comes over or anything like that. I am then going to stop the aperture down to probably something like f8, maybe even something smaller still, and I'm then going to focus stack the cave around me, which I think I'm going to have to light paint. I'm going to light paint it using the light that is on top of the video camera. It's just a dimmable LED panel that has different color temperatures and that sort of thing. So I think we're good. I think I may as well just start taking some images and see where we get to. And then I'll blend all those layers together in Photoshop. So let's just see what this first image looks like. I actually didn't focus then, so this will look terrible. I can't describe just how hot and humid and smelly and mosquito filled it is in this cave. It's horrendous, but I'm pretty sure this shot is going to be worth it. Oh, that is lovely. Right, anything that looks dodgy, I think we're good. So let's get things focused. First of all, let's just see what it's looking like on the back of the camera. Do you know, that is not far off being in focus anyway. Okay, so that's the sky shots done. This is where it starts getting a little tricky. So the plan is to stop down the aperture here to something like f8, I guess, something pretty deep. And I'm also going to turn the ISO down to I'm going to try ISO 1600, I think. And I'll also take down the shutter speed to 8 seconds. And I'm going to try and light paint the inside of this cave with this little sort of LumiCube type of LED panel, which is set at its lowest possible setting, 1%, so it's not very bright at all, but this camera should pick it up pretty well. Excuse me, just swallowing a mosquito. I'm guessing it's dead. Right, so before I do that, I need to focus stack here on the inside. So I need to find something initially to focus on, and I guess I'll do those rocks out there first. So let's just see. Oh dear. Right. Let's do some sort of foliage on the outside of the cave there. Let's just focus on that first of all. Which is easier said than done when you're up against this wall. It's actually not too bad already. Okay, that's nice and sharp. So let's turn off that horrible harsh light and start trying to focus stack. Pretty sure that the smell in here is of human origin, which isn't very nice. Just try not to think too much about that. Oh, that's all right. So, okay, that's not too bad. So, I'll do a few more of those. Just try and get full coverage, making sure that that other camera isn't in the shot anyway. No, it's not good. Right. So I'll do a couple more like that, and then I'll change my focus to somewhere a bit nearer. Okay then, so that is a wrap. What an awesome night. I also did some 14mm shots in the cave earlier on. As you can see behind me, the cloud has started to roll in a little bit, so I'm not sure how well those will turn out, but certainly the cave itself looked beautiful at 14mm. I may possibly cheat a little bit and do a focal length blend and put the 24mm Milky Way in with the 14mm cave shot as well, just to see what happens. A bit of artistic license, but that sort of thing doesn't matter so long as you disclose what you're doing. So this has been absolutely awesome. It's definitely been the hottest, filthiest nightscape session I've ever done. That cave just almost finished me off with the mosquitoes and the heat in there. I've now got a very long, very steep walk back up to the car, but I've just had a fantastic evening, so I don't care how hot and sweaty I get back up there. I'll have a cold shower when I get back to the villa. Might even have a swim, cool down, cold beer. If you've got this far, thank you so much for watching. It means an awful lot. Do leave a comment, like and subscribe, and do check out my new website, www.paulhowarthnightscapes.com. You'll see a link in my YouTube profile. I put a lot of work into that over the last 5 months, and I'm really excited to get that off the ground. And if you look very carefully, you'll find a freebie Zoom virtual background as well that you can download on the site. So thanks so much for watching. I look forward to seeing you probably back in the UK for some autumn Milky Way action. So when Milky Way is nice and vertical, you get the lovely Great Rift in Cygnus in the west and northwest after sunset. So looking forward to finding some nice foregrounds for that, and see you soon.